Mike, I was thinking the other day, there are
Yeah.
plenty of times where people haven't necessarily gotten along.
Oh, sure.
And, sometimes certain people are petty or they feel the need to fight back for one reason or another. But what if it was work related and you were actually able to use the work that you were making to get those disses in?
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about comic book creators that hate each other.
Exactly.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about comic books, costumes, facts, boots, and other stuff.
In this week's issue, when comic book creators attack each other.
Welcome into another episode of Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the man who has, no mean spirit in his body. There's nobody he wants to go after at all. Mr.
Okay.
Mike.
I looked around the room to see if there was somebody else here.
Yeah,
well, I'm trying. That's all you can do is try.
Hey, you know what? Feel the just riff for like 10 seconds. I got to plug my internet back in.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, everybody, glad you're here. So, I learned a long time ago that you have to try to be nice. It's not inherent in all of us necessarily. Without somebody coming into my life and telling me that I'm doing it wrong, I don't think I would have known how bad it made me feel.
I just heard, I don't know how bad it made me feel when I came back.
I was talking about all the STDs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you got that cleared up. No, and me trying to set up when we
never really go away, but
just some inside baseball. When I was trying to get this set up and I had a bad glare, like I had to move the desk and all that. My Ethernet cable came unplugged from the router. So I plugged it back in because usually that helps me. Sometimes when y'all watch, I like to freeze and still talk, but that helps with that. So on today's show, as we kind of teased, I wanted to do something a little different, and this is something that I've been talking about for a long time, and I thought it would be just a lot of fun for us to look at. Probably going to be somewhat shorter shows because we're not covering a full issue, but we are covering a lot of fun stuff. I say fun, petty, ridiculous, all that kind of stuff in the world of comics.
Not necessarily fun being in it.
That's true. That's true. A bunch of different things. Some names that you know very well. Some names that will be repeat people to when we get on here.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, but just before, I broke this up. I'm breaking this up into 2 episodes, and what we're focusing on is the first one here. We're essentially covering like 60s to the 80s, and then the next one we'll do 90s on with some stories there.
All right.
But this is a time where it's like, especially the ones we're going to cover today. I feel like it's a little bit different than the ones we'll cover in issue 2, but it's a lot of these artists were kind of tired, at least Sarah will see, they had to deal with all this work for hire and not owning their own creations and not, all the work they created being kind of bled for every penny or all the money that the big companies were making that these artists didn't see anything of. One of those is going to be really big when we get to it, that I think is probably the worst offender. We're going to get to the worst offender, I feel like, today in the episode, but there's a lot of that. Like, they weren't getting royalties from any of this. A lot of times, no creator credits. I think we've talked about that a long time too, that a lot of the Marvel stuff just said Stan Lee presents, and then it wouldn't actually list the people who actually wrote, and all that. There's so many things to look at,
man.
Huh?
I said you didn't really do anything other than be a hype man.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously they needed the hype man to make it work. I'm not taking, but for sure. And actually Stan comes up a couple times in this, as you could imagine, but I wanted to take a look at all the times then where creators kind of got either a little fed up or were kind of a little upset with one of their peers and decided, instead of saying something to them, or, maybe they did in some instances, they decided to go ahead and print it in their books to be known for everyone. The first one that I have here, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you and I have talked about this a lot in the industry we work in as well. We have brought some people in who immediately have beef with somebody else, and it's because of the industry they were in. It was like a dog eat dog kind of thing, and I'm assuming that's what we're dealing with here too with artists and stuff. So
very, very much. It's just some of this, though, I at least have reasonings behind things, so we at least kind of know. And some of that I'm sure is like, it was also in a way at least like the 60s and kind of into the 70s, like comics were small in a sense of where, like, they all went out and like they would work in the same offices and go out and have lunch. Like they hung, like it was a very small knit like community kind of thing. So of course you run into people that you kind of disagreed with and stuff like that. The first one that I want to bring up today, and I just have I do still have like slides and stuff for us to look at, but they're more just like talking pieces that I'm going to talk about while they're up. Our first one is from Creepy Magazine number 3.
Creepy Magazine number 3.
From Warren Publishing in 1963. Archie Goodwin was the writer and Al Williamson was the artist. Now, this story, it's one of the like from a horror anthology, and it's about this comic book writer. But the comic book writer is based off of a man by the name of Don Sherwood. Now, in the strip here, he's called Baldo Smudge, which is a great fictional comic book writer name.
Baldo Smudge.
But they're essentially poking at Don Sherwood, who was infamous for hiring a writer, a penciler, an inker, and a letterer, and then telling each one of them separately that he was doing everything else.
Oh.
And so each collaborator thought that Don was doing most of the heavy lifting, when in reality he was getting everybody else to do that. Yeah, and it's played out the same way in here. Like one of the guys is like, "Oh, all the work, like I have all these scripts done," and he's like, "All right, leave it on my desk. Like I'll do all the art and everything once I get done with this." And then the artist would turn it back. And he's like, "Oh, I'll do the lettering and inking once I get done with this." And so he just played them all. And then when he would turn it in, like he would get the majority of the credit and wouldn't have to pay them that much.
Why would you even do that though? Because they would eventually want more of the credit and more of the money.
The way I think he did that to be like, all right, I'll pay you for the art, but I get to keep the majority of it because I did everything else.
I see.
In actuality, like he was taking most of the money and the credit for these strips when he wasn't doing any of them. So in this story, like that's the same exact way. Like he plays it. He has an artist to do the art. He has somebody do the letter. He has somebody do the inker. Well, in this story, it doesn't work out the same way in real life, but it's more an EC like horror anthology. So they all find out about it, and he ends up like shooting each of them, and like they come back. He does. They come back and pull him into a comic strip, and like he's in typical like EC tells from the correct fashion. But
all that tells me, all that reminds me of is that Daffy Duck one where he is being drawn by the artist as he's yelling and stuff. They started things. That
is actually that's my favorite. Like,
it's one of my favorites. Yeah. That and Duck Season, Rabbit Season.
Oh, yep. That's great too. So that was our first one. That's the very first instance I could find of like, this one just seems like it's funny though, because they knew about his practices and they just like, made
this guy at the bottom. That's all he does.
Yeah.
He's got 3 different panels of him doing that.
So this one,
screw these guys over.
This one is a little bit different in a sense.
This is your Kirby boy.
This is from Kirby. This is from Fantastic Four 60. Hold on, I'm actually gonna have to pull up my notes on this one, so I might freeze for a bit.
That's Golden Goose, or what's his name? he was in
so that is Adam Warlock, right?
Adam Warlock, that's what I meant. Yeah.
So
Golden Goose, same thing.
He's only referred to in this Fantastic Four story as him. Like he's in a cocoon, and so disses don't necessarily always need to be about the individual itself. Okay. A lot of these are. As I told you,
they made or something, maybe.
Huh?
About the decisions they made or something, maybe.
Kind of. This is so everybody, like I said, worked together kind of in the bullpen and got to know each other. Steve Ditko, who created a lot of characters, Spider-Man, or if you want to say co-create Spider-Man, The Question, a lot of things. He was really big into objectivism and Ayn Rand.
Okay.
And so like Kirby would hear him talk about this, Jack Kirby, and Jack Kirby kind of thought objectivism is kind of stupid, at least in his opinion.
Okay.
So he created, to kind of like take that down, he had these men here that they were going to create the perfect being, right? They were going to create the perfect man.
Yeah.
They just called him him. But the thing is that once the creation comes, he's so narcissistic because all he cares about is himself, and he doesn't think the scientists who made him were worthy enough. So like he kills his makers, kind of just, leading into all that. Well, so he plots all this out and he turns it into Stan, and Stan doesn't feel like that's the way they're going to go. So they just turn it into like evil scientists create this creature that turns on them, and they lose all of the other bits there. So that was kind of a diss that almost happened but didn't. So it's kind of like that was just a fun story I came across.
It might be a little bit of a lesson in there for the people that are putting all their eggs in the AI basket.
Yes. No, very much so.
I think the golden boy is your AI.
Very true. Well, this is not the first time that Adam Warlock is going to appear on this list. This is also not the only time that Jack Kirby is going to appear on this list, and we'll get back to him in a second.
Sure.
The next one I came across was from Wonder Woman. Now, Bob Kanigher was a writer on Wonder Woman for a long time.
Okay.
He took over writing after William Moulton Marston, the creator, I think he passed away pretty early on. But anyway, Bob Kanigher was the second guy to take over, and he wrote Wonder Woman for a long time.
Okay.
Well, eventually, I'm trying to remember, it was is it Mike Sekowsky? Yeah, Mike Sekowsky did not like Bob Kanigher for some reason.
Okay.
And so when Kanigher left and Mike took over Wonder Woman, in a very quick 2-page added story at the end of issue 188, Wonder Woman stops a cross-dressing thief named Creepy Kaniga. Like, he just takes off the ER, spells it with the C, and he kind of draws it to look like him, like whatever that beef was.
That's
right?
hilarious.
It is, but it's just like, okay.
It's like toddlers,
It is like, you don't disguise it at all. And I don't even know, I couldn't find what led to that beef.
The other thing is, just think about this. You've invented canon because you had an argument with a guy over coffee mugs or whatever.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
No, for sure. That's what some of this is. Yeah. But then Robert Kanigher wasn't done. What he did, I'm trying to do the math. 16 issues later, he's back on Wonder Woman. And you would think, oh, he's going to go after Mike Sekowsky, but he doesn't. Instead, in the very first issue that he takes back over, he has an assassin take out a magazine editor named Dottie Cottonwood, who was supposed to be a, I guess, fill-in or, a simile of Dorothy Woolfolk, who was the Wonder Woman editor at the time when I'm telling you, Mike, there's gonna be a lot of this when that issue came out. So he went after the editor instead.
That's insane.
It is, right?
It
so I guess he settled a completely separate score simultaneously by going after the editor who allowed it instead of Sekowsky as well.
If I had my will, I would just shoot you in the head. I mean, that's what that's what you're saying there.
It's a little much. It is. So he said, he didn't respond to Sekowsky directly. I'm looking over my notes over it. So it's two separate things that he went after. He went after the editor instead. Another one that we are very familiar with because we've covered it before would be, we go to 1972 and Mr. Miracle issue number 6, which we covered a long time ago when we were talking kind of about the falling out between Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. So Jack has already left and he's gone over to DC, and he creates Mr. Miracle, and he creates a character in there named Funky Flashman. And I know Mike's familiar with Funky because we've talked about him here. He's also a big part of the Mr. Miracle Tom King story that we covered too. So he knows Funky. But for those who don't know, what he did was he essentially created a character, bald, no facial hair character, who lives in a place called Mockingbird Estates, who just gets a stipend every month. And his whole thing, Funky Flashman's whole thing, is to essentially make money off of other people.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to be Mr. Miracle's manager, tells
Who's
me he's going to take
Stanley?
him to the next level. It's supposed to be, because they also, like, he then dons a hairpiece and a full beard to make himself look like Stan looked during those college years going around. Also, he has an assistant he names him House Roy in here, which is a stand-in for Roy Thomas, who was kind of Stan's right-hand man in there too, who was always wanting to like take over. Like, he's like, oh, once he'll let me, I'll take over the reins. He was kind of like his Robin in a way.
A little bit of implied racism there as well with the house part of it.
So I found this too, that I think Kirby very much went for a plantation style look when describing that, to kind of express how he felt the creators were being treated at Marvel.
Crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff here.
Oh,
another fun tidbit that I found about this was when Jack, oh, you got very blurry. Yeah, you're like super pixelated. But Mark Evanier, who was Jack Kirby's assistant for a long time, told the story that actually when he created this, Funky Flashman was supposed to be a parody of a man by the name of Don Wallace. Now, Don Wallace he ran something called like Marvel Mania International, where like fans could like buy artwork and stuff like that. And he got Kirby to like draw like all these character posters and stuff for it, and then never paid him. And he would do that with other artists too. So when he first started writing the story, it was supposed to be for Don Wallace. But Mark says that, I guess because it was just stuck in his head and everything that he had buried down, the more he drew, the more it kind of turned into Stan Lee instead. So it was just like he still had that anger and animosity in there. Like he didn't go in there starting it, but as he started drawing this character, it just kind of came out and seeped out.
All these guys have a chip on their shoulder.
They do.
Yeah, just over the goofiest, dumbest things sometimes too.
Not okay.
Not paid, that's a whole different thing, but
yeah, and not for Kirby in a sense too, because while he's doing this, and actually when I'll wait till we get to Destroyer Duck. Oh no, I'll tell you now. Like, there's a time where Marvel kept everything. So like the art that Kirby drew to turn in that they would, turn into the comics, like they still had, and they would just give it away to people. Or they would just store it in some, like the artists never got their original artwork back. There's a time where he sued Marvel for near 8,600 pieces of his artwork that they had, that they were like, oh, we can't find it. All we can find are these 88 pages.
Wow.
And they just had it and they refused to give it to him. There's one point in time where I think at the end of that lawsuit, when Kirby finally wins, where Marvel miraculously is able to find it all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, when you're told by a judge you have to.
Like, it's like, I imagine Mar-a-Lago bathroom just boxes stuffed full of creators' art that they just like, oh, we can't find it.
Yeah.
Like, so like, I completely understand in a sense of why, like, why Kirby is like so perturbed in all of this, because so I get why he went after Stan there. This next one is probably my least favorite. Just in a sense of like, well, I say least favorite for me because I think it's oof. We've talked about we've talked about Bill Finger before.
Yes.
He is the guy who essentially, like, I know Bob Kane's name is all over it, but he created so much of Batman and never got any of the credit for it. Like, Bob Kane saw what was going with Siegel and Schuster with like the Superman rights in DC. And he essentially tells, I'm making this very simple, but just to kind of give some backstory, he eventually tells DC, like, pay me X amount and like make sure my name's the only name on the byline. And like, I'll settle this with you. And so none of the other people who helped him ever got any credit for it. And that includes like, what Bob Kane's version of Batman was a guy in a red suit with mechanical arms and a domino mask. So Batman is Batman because of Bill Finger.
Right.
Now, Bill, because he never got any credit for any of this and it was all work for hire, he just had to work from story to story, and whatever pay, whatever he could get pay wise is what he'd have to take. But it's not a lot of a way to make a living. So it did say that there were times that he would have to like go in and kind of ask for an advance to kind of make his rent payment, so he didn't like get kicked out.
Yeah, sure.
Well, back in 1974, there was a comic called, I call it a comic loosely, it's kind of a magazine that was The Amazing World of DC Comics. And this was kind of, you had to like, it was mail order. This is what this is from. And it was like mail order, or like it was very, they would include, it was like an insider, like inside like type magazine, like here's how comics are made. And they would occasionally put like unpublished stuff in there, or they would throw original comics in there. Also, to connect this to something else we've covered, Ramona Fradon is the artist of this. We covered her work on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And they essentially just kind of gave her the script, which she drew, and she didn't realize, like she was kind of a pawn in this, what it was about and all that. Yeah. But what this story tells is it's the story of Phil Binger. That is how on the nose they are with this. But it talks about a guy who could like write really well and he produced a lot of work, but that he was always asking for an advance. Like he'd show up and like, hey, I need an advance. And the editor would be like, where's my story? And he's like, well, let me tell you what happened. And he would always have an excuse. That is what this comic is about, Mike. It's all the excuses that he had, how he was always late, and how he would always beg for an advance. They made 6 pages about this.
What a great
veiled. Oh yeah. Thinly veiled is like, Phil Binger instead of Bill Finger.
Yeah.
And it's like, they have him telling all these sob stories of like, my dog, he just needs an operation. I just need an extra.
My dog needs an operation.
Yeah. And they even have like, we're like, oh, like he gets them all the time. There's a bucket there. They all cry into Binger's bucket to make it sound like he does this all. Like, I have never seen such an assassination on somebody in comics form. And the whole story like goes through of where like eventually he tells all these tall tales and needs to ask for advance. There's one where it's like they pretend that like kidnappers have called the office asking for ransom for him, and the editor refuses to pay. And so he shows back up like, oh, how'd you get out of there? He's like, well, I told him I gave him an IOU. Like they just make him out to be just this lazy procrastinator, and he might have been a little bit of one, and I'm sure this happened like a time or two, but they make it sound so frequent.
Is it
and like
singing the song at the end there?
It's the guy I think we covered. Remember when we had that Easter story, or we covered another one of Marvel's like horror anthologies? He's like the crypt keeper kind of in there.
Okay.
But yeah, so it all goes through all these excuses he has, and then it ends with Phil actually dies. And they're like, oh, I haven't heard from Phil in weeks. And they're like, oh, it's probably just another one of his scams. Like he's not going to turn in a story. To when eventually his ghost shows up and he's like, hey, like, there's a reason I didn't get the story to you. I'm a ghost. I'm dead. Right. And the editor doesn't believe him. Oh, and he tells him that he doesn't believe the ghost. He doesn't, but the ghost still tells him that he needs an advance. Ghost Phil Binger, right? To which somebody pops in and goes, hey, Phil, here's $500 advance. And like Ghost Phil Binger leaves. And the guy's like, why'd you do? Huh?
Doesn't it just fall through his hand?
Doesn't explain that. But the guy's like, because it was the only way I could get him out of here. I think we'll be good with him for a while. Ha ha. Like the last thing ends. So Phil's final story was a real zinger and one assertedly destined to linger. But if, as we said, he wasn't actually dead, that was certainly Binger's dead ringer. So it's just complete kind of character assassination in a way.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
The thing that makes this more pour out a taste, Mike, is this either came out right before or right after he died.
God almighty. Jeez. So they worked his death into it. Yikes.
Like, that is just so abysmal and just like,
yeah, that's rough.
That's why I said this was my least favorite one of them. Like it's just so, and here's the thing too, they decided, I think they had a comedy magazine at the time called Plop. There was like Foom, Plop.
I remember Plop.
The editor of that thought it was too mean to put in it.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, but like,
yeah. Instead, they put it in a publication all about the industry.
Yeah. So here's what we've noticed. It's completely different to what we saw with Kirby just a second ago, of where he's attempting, I think, to kind of, granted, Stan is a target, but I think Stan represents the higher ups at Marvel in a way. So Kirby's trying to punch up and trying to stick up for Little Man, whereas this feels like it is completely punching down.
Yeah, and I
through the
don't
whole
I don't
thing.
really understand it. I mean, this guy couldn't have been that bad.
No, no, I don't either. Here's our second appearance of an Adam Warlock story we're gonna get to.
Have we already covered this Adam Warlock story?
No, we haven't. Not that I know of. I'm pretty sure we haven't covered any Adam
Cover
Warlock.
is very
We've talked about him some, but I don't think
yeah,
we've
the
covered any
cover is
stories.
familiar to me.
But to give you at least the reasoning, when I have reasoning, I want to give it to explain how we got this. So Jim Starlin, we have talked about Jim Starlin before.
Sure.
He's written a couple things we've covered. I think he wrote Batman Cult that we've covered, but I know we've covered Jim Starlin. He was writing for Captain Marvel. Now, this is issue 29. He would write and I believe draw too, or at least in this case, I think he helped with the cover. Roy Thomas had taken over for Stan Lee as kind of like the main editor or over a lot of these, and he thought that Starlin's cover didn't look conventional enough, that they needed to get kids to, we only have that rack space. We need to get them to, I think your cover's too weird. And so what he did was the cover that Starlin turned in, he had John Romita go back and like erase over it and redraw the cover without telling Starlin.
What year?
Oh, I've lost you. Did you mute yourself?
No. Still here. Can you not hear me?
Until we get Mike's audio back. And so like he had
I'm here, man. I'm here.
I can't hear you at all.
I'm here.
I can't hear you at all. Here, I'll pause real quick.
Hello. Yeah, nothing changed. Let's see. Yeah.
Sorry.
How about now?
I don't hear you at all.
What the fuck?
I can see you. Hold on.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Like I see when you talk, the things come up. Oh, hold on. I've lost audio. It's me. All right, talk for me again, Mike.
Microphone smells like Lark Smith.
Yeah, it was me. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Because I was like, nothing changed. I don't know what I did.
Yeah, hold on. I want to make full screen. Okay. Oh, let me get my thing back up. My bad. Okay.
Where's his cosmic nipples?
I don't know. So he had Roy Thomas had John Romita essentially like erase over Starlin's art and redraw it into the cover that we have here.
Insult that is, though.
This happened a lot. Like this would happen to Kirby too. Like I've heard John Romita tell the story of like I did it because it was my job and I was told to, but I would die a little bit inside kind of and feel awful for having to erase over somebody else's lines to draw something else or to white out over it and do it all. Like he wasn't a fan of doing it, and so they drew that cover. Well, Starlin didn't necessarily enjoy that, I guess. And so in a tale or in an Adam Warlock story in Strange Tales 181, which he dedicates to Steve Ditko, of kind of like a company man, Adam Warlock lands on a planet that's overrun by clowns. And the clowns want to make everybody look like they do. Like there's a part where they put clown makeup on Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
To like make him like, oh, but the thing about this too, with all of these clowns is that he is essentially calling, and there's kind of like little ticks and stuff about them. One's Stan Lee, one's Roy Thomas. Like he is doing this after, Stan Lee, John Romita, Roy Thomas, Len Wein, and Marv Wolfman are all supposed to be these clowns in here because he feels slighted by them completely changing his art without telling him.
Yeah.
And they have like them put clown makeup on Adam Warlock too, essentially turning him into a clown.
That's the thing. Like you not only are you doing it, which is bad enough, but then you don't tell the poor guy about it. That's the real insult.
It is. And on this one too, like it's a little subtle. Like it's not necessarily, he doesn't call them names to make you think it is. It's not, but he does add like little things here and there to, at least for him, like, yeah, those guys were a bunch of clowns for doing that.
Jeez.
We stay in the 70s. Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. We leave the 70s.
Okay.
We're heading to the 80s. And before we head there, I'm going to retell a story that I know I've told a couple times, so you know this.
Okay.
Steve Gerber created Howard the Duck.
We've
talked about Howard the Duck some. Yeah.
From the Food family?
From the Food? Oh, no, I don't think he's related to him at all. Okay. But and Howard the Duck was very successful. It led to him getting his own comic. It led to the movie, all of that. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty popular for Marvel.
Yeah.
And Steve Gerber wanted to do things with it, and Marvel said that they had ownership of the character, because remember, they would the checks that you had to endorse, they would have the work for hire signature stamped on the back of the check.
Yeah.
So to get paid, you had to turn over your work essentially to them.
Right.
So Gerber sues Marvel, takes him to court to be like,
that happens today.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Thank God, nothing like that happens.
And so Gerber sues Marvel to take him to court to get his character back.
Right.
And so it's this whole big fight, but with court costs in general, they're expensive. Steve Gerber doesn't have, enough money to take on a giant, company like Marvel. So he kind of needs some help. And so what they do is they create a comic called Destroyer Duck, which is very much kind of like Howard, but it's a whole new character.
Whole new IP.
Jack Kirby, who is very much about going after the big guy and feeling wronged by people, illustrates it for him. So that's the team. While this is all going down, here I'll just literally say one. While Gerber and Kirby are working on this to help fund Gerber's legal funds, a guy by the name of John Byrne, who we've also talked about here, who was a big time star in the 80s for both Marvel and DC and the things he wrote. He's the one who wrote the Man of Steel after they did Crisis on Infinite Earth. He helped reboot Superman and all that stuff. A lot of work on everything. X-Men, just so much. Everybody knows who John Byrne is. Yeah. I think John Byrne might be a smidge of an ass, but
okay. What is the one thing you don't take into account on any of these things is how big of an ass these people are.
Yeah, but I think, and there's a quote coming up here later to kind of do it too, but
that excuses anything, but I'm just saying,
no. So
certainly
I'm trying to find the quote. I know I have it here, but Byrne had guest written an editorial for Comic Scene magazine, where he essentially kind of dismissed Gerber's lawsuit against Marvel. And he kind of the quote that's from there is, "I'm a cog in the machine, which is Marvel Comics, and I rejoice in that." He's saying, a lot of people are painting me as a company man. And you know what? I'm fine being a company man. Some people need to realize that they knew that the stuff they created was, he's just very much taking that side.
Yeah.
So Gerber and Kirby end up putting a character named Booster, not Rooster. Booster Cogburn, right?
Okay.
This kind of macho-y, tough guy who's a proud company man.
Yeah.
But the thing about this is, as you see very early on, this is his first appearance. He gets shot to pieces and he falls off. Don't worry, he can detach his spine.
Oh my God.
He's spineless, is what they essentially tell him. Right, this character, this Booster Cogburn, which is two. It's like the Rooster Cogburn to be like fake tough guy.
Yeah,
Burn for his last name, and then Cog because he's a happy cog in the machine.
Right? Yeah.
That's not the only thing about Booster Cogburn. Also, when he dies and comes back, he essentially finds another, I guess, blob and turns into another person. The thing that they added here then too is and that would it goes, sooner or later any inquiry would lead them to a disturbing truth that humans exist who possess the capacity to create something new, something beyond a flawed replication of what's gone before. And that would pose an even more threatening question because Cogburns were also designed with no genitalia.
Oh Jesus God. And then he's got
so they essentially
damn, I'm good.
Yeah, but so they essentially Gerber and Kirby both essentially, I'm far enough into the video, just said, "Hey, John Byrne." Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's
No
basically what they
kidding, right?
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You're a dickless, spineless
yeah, cog
jackass.
in the machine.
Yeah. Wow.
Uh,
Thanks. Hey,
yeah,
can I explain something real quick?
go ahead.
Um, my shirt does not say dick, even though it seems like it.
What does it say?
It says Ricky.
Oh,
Just telling you. Yeah. I just saw that it said ick when my shirt is open, and so I just wanted to make sure that everybody
fair
understood
enough.
that it
Fair
does not
enough.
say dick. It says Rick.
I didn't think that. All right, we have our last two here. But they still contain. This will be good because you.
Says dick, but
Well, I mean, you could if you wanted to.
wear whatever.
Exactly. But this one is still kind of based off the same thing. So that's why these all kind of transition together and it makes like a triangle of everybody dissing everybody, dissing everybody. So while Steve Gerber's lawsuit is going on, the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics was a guy by the name of Jim Shooter.
Okay.
So Jim Shooter creates, he was the one behind Secret Wars, which was really big for Marvel in the 80s.
Yeah.
With the Mattel toys and all that. It's what introduced Spider-Man's black suit.
Mm-hmm.
But for the follow-up, which was Secret Wars #2,
even more,
which was not that good.
No.
They have it where the Beyonder shows up and gives powers to an artist, or like a writer by the name. I'm sorry, it's a children's TV animator. That's what it was.
Okay.
He was a failed comics writer turned children's TV animator, and this is very much on the nose. And so the Beyonder gives him power, and he turns into a character named Thundersword. Now, before he was Thundersword, his name was Stuart Cadwell.
Okay.
Stuart is a reference to a Steve Gerber comic he was doing at the time called Stuart the Rat, an independent comic. It wasn't supposed to be Cadwell. It was supposed to be Gadwell originally, and they changed it, which is a species of bird or a species of duck. You know, the Howard the Duck, all that. Yeah. And then they named him Thundersword because what Steve Gerber was doing at the time, since he was out of comics, was writing for a little show called Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes.
That's
funny. So that's why. So Jim Shooter is making sure you know, yeah, this guy, that's supposed to be Steve Gerber. And what they have the character do.
The last one, though.
Huh?
It's not near as bad as some of these.
No, none of these are going to be as bad as the Bill Finger one.
Yeah.
I think. And so he has this character who was very much like, you know, wanted to do good and all this, but then once like he got the power, he just turned into like this hypocrite who goes after the studio that gave him notes on his project and like, you know, blows it up and stuff like that. Shooter is making him out to be just this petty, vindictive kind of person then.
Sure. Yeah.
That is not all. Next we will go to John Byrne attacking Jim Shooter.
These dumb people.
Yeah. So in a story in the comic Legends 5, or issue 5, which was a story to kind of help with the relaunch of the new DC universe.
Okay.
John Byrne does go after Jim Shooter at Marvel, and I can only assume that this has to deal with them butting heads while they were there at Marvel. I think I read at one point in time that like Byrne invited other comics creators like over to his house in the back, like had a party in the backyard, and they burned a picture of Jim Shooter in effigy. Like none of them liked him. So, or at least that's what the story made it sound like. So John Byrne creates a character in his Legends story named Sunspot, who has the same like acne scars, haircut, like they make him look just like Jim Shooter there. And what the character only lasts 4 pages, and what he does in there is he shoots his foot off.
Oh my Lord.
Just essentially telling him like,
shot himself in the foot. Yeah.
Shot himself in the foot is what he's trying to tell Jim Shooter. This is not the only time he goes after Jim Shooter. He also took over once he goes back to Marvel and took over a comic that Shooter started and created called Star Brand. And it was set in Pittsburgh, which is Jim Shooter's hometown.
Wow.
So John Byrne has them essentially blow up Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh is wiped off the face of the map in there. Like it's all these men and their egos.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Some of them are warranted. Some of them are just strange.
Yeah.
And
You
then this takes
what the fight was to begin with. That's
I don't
my
know.
thing. Like, I would love to know, what is it that pissed you off so much that you fictitiously blew up his hometown?
Yeah. And then the last one that we have, and then I'll take a quick break here, but we've already covered this, but this is John Byrne too.
Yeah.
And I fully believe that this is John Byrne finally trying to clap back at Jack Kirby. And the reason I say that is because obviously Kirby with Gerber has called him essentially a spineless, ballless cog in the machine.
Yeah.
It was no secret amongst the industry that the inspiration for Barda that Jack took from his wife Roz, like not necessarily in stature, but just like how strong of a woman and stuff like that she was.
Yeah, sure.
And so why not just have a dig of where Superman, even though they're mind controlled, Superman tries to, is essentially trying to bang Barda.
Yeah. Bang Barda.
I felt like that was a complete, like he's trying to get back at Kirby in a way.
Yeah.
The thing that makes this just a little more like, was in 2005, because remember we covered it, and they don't necessarily show anything on scene, and they kind of leave it to be like left to but that's what in 2005, so damn near what 21
years ago. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like nearly like 18 years after he drew this and made this, he was asked about it, and his answer was just like, if you want it to be a porno flick, it was a porno flick. If you don't, it wasn't. Just very much like, okay.
Thanks, John Byrne.
Yeah, but it felt very much like this was his comeback then to Jack Kirby there. So that takes us to the end of the 80s, and we're about to get into the 90s. And I think this is a good place for us just to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
After this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Yeah.
And we're back. So
those are some nice little breaks there.
Thank you. I do like that. The second half of this, we're not going to have as many pictures. Actually, I'm not going to have any for a bit. I take that back. I'll throw some in when we talk about it. But I just wanted to focus on this. I want to find this picture from when we get there, because I forgot to save it, and it's a WebP format, of course.
WebP.
But so the 90s, where we'll pick up, a big thing happened in the 90s, and that was the creation of Image Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And Image was when like 7 of the biggest kind of artists from Marvel kind of got together. It was Todd McFarlane, it was Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, who we will talk about here in a second.
Yeah, big ones.
Eric Larson, a bunch of those guys just left and went to Image. Now there's a quote that Todd McFarlane said in like the press conferences for all this, of that a lot of our guys were saving our best stuff for when we could,
break away,
go to like we were holding back, right? We were holding back.
Sure.
That's something to note when I get into this next story here. So this next story stems from one of those Image writers who left Marvel. And that was Eric Larson, who at the time in 1992, before he left, was working on Spider-Man. And so an arc that he did was The Revenge of the Sinister Six, and he wanted to make Doc Ock kind of look like, more menacing and stuff like that, because he felt he had kind of turned into a joke character. And so he gave him like adamantium arms, which is the same stuff that, Wolverine skulls out of.
Yeah,
and he had him beat Hulk in a fight pretty easily.
Wow.
Now, the writer of Hulk at the time was Peter David, who we've talked about a lot. Fantastic writer, a lot of great stuff. And Peter David didn't take too kindly to that. I don't think that it was ran by, or I don't think just Doc Ock's going to beat the Hulk just out of, okay. So what Peter David did was in issue 396 of The Incredible Hulk, he has him run into Doc Ock again. And this time Hulk just essentially thumps him and like beats him.
Yeah.
And he tells him, like, the Punisher shows up. And before he gets there, like the Hulk tells him, I was holding back last time. It was essentially petty larceny. Is what you beating me was petty larceny, is what he tells him, to try to get Eric Larson's name in there. Good. Then after he defeats the Punisher, or I'm sorry, after he defeats Doc Ock, Punisher comes by and goes, wow, you took care of him this time. And he says, just trying to preserve your image, and image is in all caps.
Yeah.
So he specifically goes after them. There are debates about around this time, because I think Peter David thought that what they were doing was bad for the comic industry, or like how comics worked, where like Todd McFarlane and like Peter David and all of them had debates that you could go like, attend to and all this. Anyway, it doesn't end there. Larson and Peter David end up writing letters to each other's comics. And like Peter David would write to the Savage Dragon letters column, and Larson would print it and then print his like rebuttal with it too. And so they would go back and forth with this for a while. This is my favorite one for one reason though, Mike.
Okay.
All of this pettiness, all of this squabbling. Later in his life, like Peter David passed away not too long ago, within the last year. We covered the death of Gene DeWolf when you did.
Yeah. I remember
that. Before then, though, obviously because comics creators aren't necessarily that wealthy and stuff, he was having problems with the IRS, and like he owed the IRS a lot of money. Peter David did. Eric Larson, of all people, got in contact with him, helped him plan out ways to get out of it.
Wow.
And like actually help, like the two of them were like, all right. And he actually helped Peter David with that. Like, hey, you can sell your original artwork. Hey, you can do this. Hey, you can do that. Yeah. So it's my favorite because it started as general pettiness to fast forward, 20 something years.
Actually,
Eric Larson's trying to actually help Peter David,
That's amazing.
Huh. And so that's good. I wanted to at least add that in there.
It is kind of cool.
It is really cool. The funniest and most really, I'm sorry, I'm reading through my notes, and that's but it's just like, two competitive mouthy guys were being petty about comic book fights, and like the holding back the image. Eric Larson said some stuff, like both of them said some mean stuff in their letters to one another.
It's amazing what happens.
They found a way to kind of dissolve it.
You start to drop some of that stuff, and you're able to see that it was just really silly, and it doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. Plus, we're all going to die at some point.
Well, that's very true.
I mean, it just some of that shit just does not matter at a certain point.
Death and taxes, right?
Yeah.
I'm seeing if I can hear. Maybe I'll do that then for what I need here. I'm doing stuff on the fly. I'll also point out though, I don't have any images of it.
Yeah.
But Larson goes after John Byrne too. There's a character in his Savage Dragon comics.
I was never a fan of Savage Dragon.
That is, well, we're about to cover some image here soon.
I want to see it.
It won't be Savage Dragon. We have some image on the way.
That was about the same time as like Wetworks and Spawn started.
Yes, they're in the early 90s there. I was trying to
stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So Larson parodied Byrne as Johnny Redbeard in Savage Dragon.
Okay.
So it says that Byrne had become such a reliable feud machine that he was being mocked by the next generation he influenced.
Wow.
This next one, though, we're going to stay kind of in the 90s, and it's another image guy.
Okay.
And this one's just kind of funny to me, but it's Rob Liefeld.
Okay.
And Rags Morales, who is another artist.
Yeah.
But this all happened, and it's a very early 2000s way.
Yeah. What's up? Okay. Yeah, just go ahead. Just go ahead and lock it up. Yeah. No problem. All right. Sorry.
All good.
Shit. Leave that in. Love it.
No, I'm not editing this. But in a very early 2000s way, Rob Liefeld was on, I'm trying to find the website name because I don't remember what it was. He was on some message boards, right? And he was basically just sitting there talking about how, like, I'm trying to find the quote and I don't have it here. Newsarama.com. He went there to kind of defend his own record against fans' criticism, and in so kind of made a dismissive comment about Rags Morales and Identity Crisis, which had just come out that Rags had illustrated.
Okay.
And so Rags essentially kind of like fired back at him on that same forum, telling him that, like, you know, like, why do I care if Rob Liefeld doesn't like my work? But I do care about the fans. Like, when a professional says something disparaging, it's damaging. Like, you know, when somebody else, like a peer, comes out and talks about your work, like that can have a negative effect. And he goes, comeuppance is required, and Rob needs to know I'm not to be toyed with. Is essentially just what he said there. So Rob, this one ends pretty quickly, and it's funny to me. Rob replies back with something like, you know, color me shaking in my boots. If I reacted to everyone who cracked on my work, I guess I'd be you, is what he says in all caps.
Goodness gracious.
He goes, look me up at the next show, Rags, which is very much like, you want to meet outside? Let's do this.
Catch me outside. How about that?
I love Rags Morales' comeback, because he essentially says, you know, like, and as far, he says something else before that, but he ends it with, and as far as being me, I'm sure you would lop off your right hand at the wrist to be me.
Wow.
If you knew what a wrist looked like.
Yeah, because he can't draw hands.
Because he can't draw feet. He can't draw hands.
Can't draw hands. Yeah.
So he just went after him.
That's rough.
Yeah. All right. We'll end with this one. Well, I take that back. I'm sorry. We have 3 more. One of them I'm going to breeze over real quickly, but one I didn't have in my notes that I found.
Sure.
You are also probably familiar with a guy by the name of Garth Ennis.
Yes.
Garth Ennis has written a lot of stuff. Preacher is one of them.
Yeah.
He did The Boys. He wrote The Boys.
Yeah.
Another thing about Garth Ennis,
by the way, again, the last season.
Yes, I need to catch up. Is Garth Ennis not a big fan of superheroes, though, which is always kind of funny that he works in comics, but he hates them. Like, his take on Batman, I'll have to send it to you, is actually pretty. I listen, I'm like, oh, that's not bad. He's like, his thing is like, Batman's a bastard. He's like, he could use his billions to help improve Gotham City, and instead he wants to dress up like a bat and beat up on the mentally ill.
Yep.
And he goes, I find it funny. He goes, not funny coincidental, but actually funny that DCU has been able to turn like such a terrible character into a flagship.
What's funny is that you could be talking about people today.
That's very true.
We got a lot of billionaires out there that could end hunger, or could end.
But he wants to dress up as a bat and fight crime. Yeah.
Instead, these guys go to space. Yeah.
So Garth Ennis not having a lot of patience and time for superheroes, thinking they're kind of silly, except for Superman. Oddly enough, Superman is the one that he enjoy. Like, well, he at least writes really well. Okay. Wolverine is on his list of a guy that doesn't necessarily care for. Which also, explain to me this, Mike, why does everybody go after Superman and like, oh, there's nothing that can hurt him? Oh, that's so boring. But they love the shit out of Wolverine.
Yeah, either Wolverine or Deadpool, one or the other. Yeah, they love it.
Deadpool's at least funny, and I get that. But like, Wolverine is just a guy who's just like always angry and just people go ape shit for him. And
He's always angry. I think it's that anti-hero thing.
And I think that's what they try to look for with Batman. Well, that's probably why like the Red Hood is so popular too, because like, he uses guns and kills people.
Come out of his hands, you know. I mean, it's pretty fucking.
You
know, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But so in his run, which people
Spider-Man, right? Thwip
is Spider-Man. Yeah. Okay. He has Garth Ennis has a celebrated run on Punisher. Huh?
What is that called? It's not an onomatopoeia. What's it called?
It is an onomatopoeia. Well, yeah, if it sounds like if it's spelled the way it sounds.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But he had a very well thought of, critically acclaimed fan favorite Punisher run. Okay. And in one of the stories there, he runs into Wolverine, and to, you know, get Wolverine to stop kind of following him, he eventually shoots him like point blank in the face with a shotgun, So he has to like kind of like
Yeah.
and then he shoots him in the junk and then
Mhm.
runs over him with a steamroller, and he just
Sure.
like leaves him there underneath the steamroller, right?
He Wile E. Coyotes him.
He does. Well,
Yeah.
Frank Thierry,
Okay.
who was riding Wolverine at the time, didn't take too hot to that, and so he wrote an
Yeah.
altercation between the two where Wolverine just essentially punches him in the face, and like Frank drops his bag, and it's full of bodybuilding magazines.
Oh, very nice. I like that.
And so he's
Actually.
like, and Frank's just like, oh, they're for research and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like
Yeah.
you
It's
defi-
really
like
stupid, but I like
it's
it
very
for some
stupid.
reason.
So they went after each other
A little
that
more
way.
subtle than some of them, A little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one in here. Grant Morrison and Alan Moore is a
Okay.
beef, but they've never really like gone after each other too much that
Yeah.
I know of.
Just didn't like each other.
In things they just didn't like each other. But like they've commented on their work. Like Morrison called Watchmen. I said it was a 300-page equivalent of a 6th-form poem. I think it genuinely upset him. Alan Moore didn't speak to me after that.
Yeah. Well.
And Alan Moore once called Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, which is considered to be a really good Batman book,
Mhm.
a gilded turd. So the
Ooh.
two of them don't necessarily like each other. We're not gonna, it's a
Those
lot
are
of
both
confusion
very
set
good
up into that.
things too, which is what's so crazy about it.
It
Yeah.
is. It's so funny that they just have problems with each other. But to close it out, I'm gonna stick with one there in the 90s and into the 2000s that also has to deal with Grant Morrison.
Oh, okay.
And that is him and Mark Millar. And we have covered Mark Millar a good amount on here.
Mark Millar.
Covered
What I understand about Mark Millar is he's a
Miller. I think
I've
it can
heard.
be either or,
Yeah.
but yeah.
You've told me that he is perceived as a real turd.
Well, I think some people, yeah.
Yeah.
But also like we've read the books, like Nemesis.
Nemesis is
He's out there. He did do Civil War. Like I don't want to like, so people
Nemesis
love Civil War.
Nemesis is the abortion bomb, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like the brother and sister. It was just like,
Yeah. Put a bomb in your tummy. Yeah, that kind of thing.
But then also, I'm pretty sure he wrote Trouble.
With the ladies.
Might be wrong. With Aunt May and
Yeah.
like
but
he's
the ones
just
with real like underage looking girls on the covers.
Yeah, the little that was weird.
That was rough. Yeah.
But before all that, Morrison and Miller were both friends. Like when Miller was 18, and Morrison actually kind of helped him get into the comic book and helped him get some work. I'm not saying help him get it, but helped him get some work. At least it seems like on Swamp Thing, and like he would help him like co-write strips on 2000 AD, which is a UK publication, which is where like Judge Dredd, V for Vendetta, like all that stuff kind of came up from. And so like, the 90s were essentially like launching his career, and they collaborated a lot. Or their collaborative work include like Flash, Aztec. I'm trying to see what else here, but eventually Miller was like the hungry protege kind of who wanted to like break out and do his own thing. He got the Authority. Mark Miller did, and we know about the Authority. They released it in one of the DC compacts here recently too, but it got a lot of popularity. And on Morrison's
Authority going to be like part of.
I think it's kind of been scrapped. I haven't heard anything about that lately, but yeah. From Morrison's account, Miller felt like he needed to escape kind of Morrison's shadow, and the way to get out of that, was to do this fairly uncool like split from them. What the split is that when Mark Millar was sick at some point in time or couldn't do an issue, Grant Morrison stepped up and ghost wrote, I guess, issue 28 of the Authority for him. And Morrison didn't feel like he got appropriate credit for that. Like on the book, like they still gave it to Miller. And I don't think if also that like maybe Miller didn't seem appreciative enough in all this too.
Yeah.
The quote that I also loved then about this time is that one of the X-Men editors, because Mark Miller leaves Authority not too long after that. And somebody had asked one of the editors why they thought that he left while Miller left, and their response was apparently Grant Morrison ran out of ideas, basically telling him that Miller was just stealing all of his ideas from Morrison in a way.
Thanks.
This has reached into like the comic book sphere in a way of where like when Morrison did Pax Americana, he sets up the Question and Blue Beetle to kind of be like these partners where the Question's like the mentor and Blue Beetle's like the protege, and Blue Beetle very much wants to do things his own way and not listen and just like, just doesn't take, like lashes out. Millar kind of did the same thing in Jupiter. Was it Jupiter Rising? They made a Netflix show, or Jupiter's Legacy, of where like the Superman's stand-in, Sheldon Sampson, who's like the wise principal elder, is eventually brutally murdered by his own son Brandon, who resents like being in his shadow and wants to kind of be out on his own. So they've both have kind of done the same thing, playing up the roles of each. My favorite was, there's a quote that I have here. There's two quotes, both from Morrison. One was, "I wish him well, but there's no good feeling between myself and Mark for many reasons, most of which are he destroyed my faith in human fucking nature."
Oof.
And then the other quote was, and this was kind of funny, he goes, Morrison on like bumping into Mark in Glasgow, because they're both like, he's Scottish. I think they both are, so like seeing him there. And Morrison replied, "There's a very good chance of running into him, and I hope I'm going 100 miles an hour when it happens."
Oh, yikes. It's crazy to me how many times these guys are like, yeah, just kill him.
Yeah.
I'll just hang down.
Something that I do want to add to end on a light note that is about this feud, though, is Gail Simone, who we covered with Secret Six. Remember, we talked her up a little bit, and I think I gave you her history about how she broke in doing like Simpsons comics and stuff like that at one point in time.
Yeah.
In one of the Simpsons comics that she wrote, where it's set in Scotland, she thought it would be hilarious to have Miller and Morrison like there in the background panels, like kind of trading insults with each other. So she reached out to each of them separately, and they both gave the insult that they would want to use, but neither of them had told Gail that they had a falling out, and neither of them knew like the other one was going to do it. So there is a Simpsons panel here. Let me see if I can share it real quick, because I found it. I say that, maybe I closed it. I closed it. Damn it. Or no, it's here. No, it's not here. Anyway, there's a Simpsons panel. It's here. It's everywhere. Here it is. Yeah, share screen. Okay. That tab right there, share. So as you can see, there's Morrison on the left and Millar on the right. You can't see anything
in there.
Oh. Well, it would help if I would sorry. Like that.
There it is. What? That's just black.
Why is it not doing this?
These guys are so angry at each other. It just won't
share screen. Don't you love doing this? Here.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Share. It's not working. Yeah.
That's all right.
Now I can't.
It's okay.
Well, no, now I can't even see that. We'll just stop sharing here. Anyway. Let's get rid of our back screen. But that's a great way to end the show. But they're there, and like one of them's like, "Yeah, hello, I'm Grant Morrison. I write the X-Men."
Yeah.
And he goes, and Mark goes, "He's mad. I'm Mark Millar, and I write the X-Men." And so the two of them get to a fight, and he's like, "Oh, right. Ultimate X-Men, sure." And they're like, that counts. And so like, it's just them going back and forth. Like he pulls a knife on him, but it's like this whole fight goes on in the background.
In the Simpsons.
And like groundskeeper Willie kind of rushes the rest of them off, like out of the way. Like, perhaps we better go another route. Like, they're going to kill each other here.
Wow.
But she had no idea when she did that.
A
couple just quick mentions then before I close it out.
At some point, these people would have to show up on The Simpsons, since Simpsons been on for 30 plus years.
For
you know what I mean? Like all that stuff is going to happen at some point.
John Byrne, this is just a close. John Byrne created a character named Alden Mass in the Fantastic Four, essentially just to mock Neil Adams' controversial expanding Earth geological theory. Alex Toth, who we know, he worked a caricature of DC editor Julius Schwartz into a story, just because Toth reportedly once threatened to throw Schwartz out of a skyscraper window.
Wow.
And then I talked about the cover that was redrawn there. But so as you can see, there's a long history of comic book creators not liking each other and then squeezing it into their comics.
No idea.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. There you go.
Well,
I was gonna turn it into two. I just made it into one. So we're that's our episode for this week. Then.
That's great. I love this kind of stuff to take a break from an actual comic because, it's still in the same universe, but this is stuff that I had no idea about.
Yeah. And so now you know, though, that some of your favorite authors and writers just didn't like each other. And also you can kind of look at them and notice like, oh, okay. You can kind of notice things now when you read, which is, you always got to read between the lines. There's a lot of fun, cool stuff there.
The other thing you didn't mention is that any of them are women. It's always guys that are always so petty about
always guys that have to have measuring contests, man.
That's right.
That's true. There might be one, but maybe
writers, please.
That way the women are probably, man enough to actually go talk to the person and be like, hey, I didn't like what you did there. So anyway, that does it for our show today. Thank you guys as always for watching, for listening, for partaking in the show any way you can. We appreciate it so much.
Yep. Huh? Being there, being alive.
Yes, all of it. We appreciate it all very much. And if I may ask for you to check out all the other great podcasts on the Rogue Media Network family of podcasts, RogueMediaNetwork.com, including Mike's other podcast, Blah, which is very entertaining. I had to work and I worked in the background and sat in on an episode the other day and laughed very, very hard. So you should go check it out.
Watch it, I believe, that episode.
I did. I went home and I watched the episode they talked about afterwards because I was like, oh, okay.
It's a good show. We put a lot of work into it.
What it was the big reveal was that it was a front loader washer and dryer, right?
Yes.
It's front loader.
Yeah, it's front loader.
Great episode. But there you go. So check out Bois too.
The whole thing was about seeing this murder house, and they go, front loader. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Oh man, but great show. Please check it out. And thank you guys as always. And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Golly con.
Digging up flicks since the age of 6. Digging my kicks, digging on the comics.
This is a Rogue Media Network production.